Oregon's contact tracing app, which never actually got off the ground. Plus, not going to school on Fridays sounds like a dream come true for most kids. Turns out it's also what the Portland Teachers Union wants for high schoolers.
Our students are displaying unprecedented levels of stress.
And classic question, what do Matthew McConaughey and Oregon Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum have in common? Well, neither is running for governor, which apparently is something you have to announce these days. Here's the story.
The crashing rocket ship app. Our editors are on a new level. That was fantastic. I'm Maggie Vespa. Welcome to The Story, the show where, since we're all glued to our phones anyway, we want you to use yours to talk to us while we talk to you. Society is crumbling anyway, so why not? Email us at thestory@kgw.com. Use that hashtag #TheStoryKGW. Our team is watching for your feedback as we speak. And as you'll see, your questions and comments drive this show. And with that said, let's get right to our big story, which tonight is focused on your questions about COVID. And we know you have a lot, especially with this new Omicron variant. So keep sending those in. We are reading all of them. I'm going to start with this one from John. He wrote, can you please find out about this plan that was sent to me for digital vaccine passports? I haven't heard much about it in the news. And then John sent us a link to a presentation that the Oregon Health Authority gave a House committee last week. You'll notice it's called Digital Vaccine Records Project, so no mention of vaccine passports. And for the record, these aren't actually vaccine passports. That all being said, we sent your question to Pat Doris.
It's a great question about this new card that the state is putting out. And first things first, it is not a vaccine passport. It's one of many cards that you can use to show that you're vaccinated. You could use a picture on your phone. You could use the actual paper. You could use this thing when it comes out. It'll be secure digital card with a QR code that you can put on your phone. Okay, so first things first, not a vaccine passport. The state is developing this as a voluntary thing that you can use for free because there's a lot of companies now, a lot of restaurants and bars, for example, that won't allow you to sit inside and dine unless you can prove that you've been fully vaccinated. A lot of places like the Moda Center won't let you come in either. So it's probably going to be something that you might want to have. I just have a picture of my vaccination on my phone, and that's probably all I'm going to need. But the state wants it to be available for lots of people, and other states have already done this, like Washington State. In fact, there was testimony in front of Oregon's legislative body recently that there are 9 states that now have this very thing, and there's 20 more, including Oregon, that are developing it. So it's not like they just came up with this out of the blue. How much is it going to cost? We don't know. I asked them, and they have not yet answered. So we'll be waiting to hear about that. They expect to have it rolled out in early spring, so around early March. You can look for it then. Also, it's going to be something that a lot of people are probably going to use and a lot of people are going to sneer at. And I got to be honest with you, it kind of reminds some of us of the contact tracing app that the state said they were going to put out. Remember that? It was going to be on your phone, and it would tell you if you had been near somebody who turned out to be positive with COVID. And then it was kind of like an automatic thing that you could go check to see if you were positive yourself. It never happened. The state talked about it. They looked into it. They apparently were studying it or working on it or something. I don't know, but it never came out. So hopefully we'll have a little more follow through on this one. It's a great question, though. It is something that's working its way through Oregon. This technology, that is, this secure digital app that will have your vaccination information, voluntary, free, available for anybody in the spring. It's a great question. Keep them coming. We'll dig up as many answers as we can.
All right, Pat Doris, thank you so much. Let's get to some more viewer questions. Linda asked, does the vaccine we have gotten for COVID protect against all variants like this new one? Great question, Linda. A lot of people have that question. So we asked the Oregon Health Authority, and they sent us this statement. They wrote, the current vaccines remain highly effective against other variants, and our doctors expect the same to be true with Omicron. Just another reason, they added, to get vaccinated. So right now, they believe the vaccines will still work against this new variant. However, vaccine makers are ready to make some tweaks to their shots if they need to. Pfizer CEO says they can have an Omicron-specific vaccine ready in less than 100 days. They actually made ones for the Beta and Delta variants, but they didn't need to distribute those because they found out the original worked so well against them. Meantime, Moderna's CEO says they're also planning to create an Omicron shot if needed, although it could take months to develop and ship. And then finally, Johnson & Johnson is also testing the new variant against its vaccine. Here's a question we got from Sally. How did we go from Delta to Omicron? There were Epsilon, Zeta, Kappa, etc. variants that we just never heard about. Are they just picking Greek letters at random? First of all, very impressive. Love your email. And isn't this a fun way to learn the Greek alphabet in a deadly global pandemic? No? Okay, well, the World Health Organization is actually naming variants in Greek alphabetical order. And you probably haven't heard of some of the variants because they ended up not really causing any problems. They have classified 5 variants of concern, which are the ones that they're worried about and the ones that we hear about. Those were Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, and now Omicron. You probably heard of those, especially Delta, which tore through Oregon in the late summer, overwhelming our hospitals. Then there are variants of interest, which the WHO aren't really worried about, but they keep an eye on, and the current ones are Lambda and Mu. There's also a bunch of former variants of interest, which the WHO doesn't think are causing problems anymore. They never really sounded alarms about those. Now, if you know the Greek alphabet, you might be wondering to yourself, well, what happened to the letters Nu and Xi? So fun to say. Well, the WHO decided to skip those to avoid confusion. Basically, Nu sounds too much like new, aka NEW, and it would just be the new variant, which would be really confusing. And then Xi was written as XI, which is the English spelling of a common name in China. It's also the name of China's president. So if you have any other COVID questions like that fascinating one, please send them to thestory@kgw.com. All right, let's shift gears now. I want to turn to the problems in our schools exacerbated by the pandemic. We've been telling you about fighting and stress and mental health issues among students, and now the Portland Teachers Union has an idea that they think will help. They want to cancel in-person classes on Fridays. Here's Christine Pitawanich.
Teachers I've spoken to say they're overwhelmed, and so are their students, stressed out by the workload, expectations, and of course, the pandemic. That's why teachers say they need more time to deal with the increased need in classrooms.
A number of health-related organizations are ringing the warning bell that we are in a mental health crisis for young people.
On Monday, representatives with the Portland Association of Teachers gave the district its proposals.
So our proposals are designed to try and provide a capacity for everyone to give the maximum amount of service to students and also provide the best, the safest and best environment for students.
Among many things, proposals included limiting staff meetings and shifting teacher evaluations. But what seemed to be a potential sticking point, cutting one school day a week short by 2 hours for elementary and middle school students. And at the high school level, shifting in-person school to online learning once a week.
People are working harder than they ever have, and they're still not able to do this because of the huge level of need across the district in so many different places.
Our students are displaying unprecedented levels of stress.
We are in complete agreement that this has been a tough couple of years for our teachers, students.
Dr. Sean Bird is the Deputy Superintendent of Instruction and School Communities at Portland Public Schools.
And we really want to address the concerns that our teachers have. But they presented some proposals yesterday that would have included modifying the school calendar and reducing instructional days. And that's just a proposal that the district cannot support.
Bird says at the elementary and middle school levels, the proposal would result in about 10 days of lost instructional time. And at the high school level, 20 days less of in-person instruction.
Yes, there will be a conversion of in-person student days to other types of education for parts of the day, but they do count. Asynchronous do count as education.
We also agree that teachers need time to plan and they need time to address some of the school climate and culture issues. So we're looking at ways to creatively solve that problem without reducing time for students in school.
The groups will continue to meet and are hopeful there will be an agreement before winter break in a couple weeks. Changes would kick in after winter break for the remainder of the school year. Christine Pitawanich, KGW News.
All right, let's shift again and talk about the Oregon governor's race. And usually, you know, we do one of these segments because logically a new candidate has thrown their hat into the ring. And at this point, there are a lot of hats in that ring. But this time, we're here to tell you who is not running, because apparently they make videos. Oregon Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum posted a 2-minute video on her Twitter yesterday with the title, "A Message from Ellen About the 2022 Oregon Governor's Race." Not gonna lie to you, the video's pretty sleek. It's got a big campaign-style logo on it. But lo and behold, the video is about her choosing not to run for governor.
So upon considerable reflection, I believe I can best continue to serve our state by remaining your Attorney General. I am not running for governor.
So that logo is for a non-campaign. So this is kind of notable because Rosenblum would have been a front runner for the Democratic nomination if she was running. And although a long produced campaign style video to announce that you're not launching a campaign might to some be a little much. It had some reaction on Twitter. I don't know if you've noticed, but making longer than needed videos to announce that you're not running for governor has become kind of a thing. Case in point.
Hey everybody, McConaughey here. Listen, over the past 2 years, I've been working on the answer to the question of
Okay, let's speed this up and get to the important part.
It never occurred to me that I would one day be considered for political leadership. It's a humbling and inspiring path to ponder. It is also a path that I'm choosing not to take at this moment. And until next time, just keep living.
It was 3 minutes and 15 seconds, by the way. I can tell by the time cues on our prompter. It's a long video. So to save everyone else some time, let's just go through a quick list of people who we also know are not running for governor of Oregon or Texas or any other state. The Unipiper, first up, not running. Damian Lillard, we also don't believe, is running as far as we know. The Portland Pickle, whose name is apparently Dylan, solid, that's awesome, is also not running. Nora the polar bear at the Oregon Zoo, she is too young to run for governor. She's only 5, so give her time. And Dr. Oz, also not running for governor of any state, but apparently he is running for Senate in Pennsylvania. This is actually true. He made this announcement today, old school, with an op-ed, not a video. Election season, man, it never disappoints.
Rent assistance is back in the headlines. Last night, we told you Oregon was finally speeding things up, getting checks out the door. Tonight, Governor Brown says the system is working too well, and now the state is running out of money. And we all know beer and football go together like, well, beer and football. But a former NFL player is coming to Oregon to get into the wine business.
I guess we'll start with the important part. We probably drink more Oregon Pinot Noir at my house than anything else.
When the story continues.
Quick note, Chief Meteorologist Matt Safino literally just texted me during the commercial break to say he is also not running for governor. So we'll add him to the list if we do any updates on that story. Thank you guys so much for watching and for writing in. Email the story at kgw.com or use the hashtag #TheStoryKGW on Twitter. Or if you're Matt, just text me apparently, because that was great. Okay, shifting gears again, a follow-up to last night's segment on rent assistance in Oregon, which perhaps Governor Brown saw, because today we got this into our inbox. A news release headlined, Governor Kate Brown announces special session to prevent winter evictions. That session is happening Monday, December 13th. And in making her case for why, the governor highlighted a lot of the same numbers that we talked about on this show last night, namely this one. This is the state's live online dashboard, and it shows that number in blue on the left. It has doled out close to $150 million in federal rent assistance. That's out of, and this is an updated number, $298 million, which the state has on hand. Now, last week, state officials said that giant total, the nearly $150 million that you're seeing right there, they said that was a good thing, kind of a look how much money we're getting to renters vibe. But tonight, the governor has a different take. She said, quote, our federal funds for rental assistance will be nearly spent on December 1st, she said. That's tomorrow. She went on to say, I am continuing to work with federal officials at the U.S. Treasury and the White House to secure additional federal emergency rental assistance funding for Oregon. So in other words, yes, the state is doing a better job of getting that federal rent assistance to renters quickly, but so many people are applying that, frankly, Oregon is running out of money. So they want to press the feds for more. And while that plays out, because we're sure that'll take time, applications for rent assistance continue to pour in. And on top of that, a lot of the people who have already been approved for help haven't physically gotten their checks yet. There's a bit of a delay there. Some have been waiting several months, like Musanda Mwango. We met him last night, a dad of 3. Probably saw him last night. He lost his job at a church to COVID restrictions. He got approved for assistance in June, but he is still waiting tonight. Well, housing advocates say there are thousands of families like his stuck in limbo.
So there are 10,500 Oregon families and individuals, low-income families and individuals across the state that are at imminent risk of eviction and displacement because we have not been able to process applications quickly enough. In addition to those almost 11,000 households, there are another 17,000 households across the state who have applications pending, who are getting closer to their expiration dates every day.
Sybil Hebb with the Oregon Law Center there. Now, when she refers to expiration dates, she's talking about a law that Oregon legislators passed earlier this year. They called it the Safe Harbor Law. It protects anyone who's applied for rent assistance from getting evicted for the next 60 days after they apply, basically while they wait for their money. Tenants advocates want that safe harbor extended beyond 60 days because a lot of this is taking so long. I also talked to advocates, though, for landlords about what they want.
Trying to speed up the processing time for those rent relief funds for landlords. And you really got to make sure they don't forget that a very large percentage of landlords own and manage under 4 or less units. And the fact is, if you have a small number of properties, you have mortgages you have to pay. If you have to go upwards of 60 days, then there's a decent chance you're making a choice on what you're spending your money on, and in some cases maybe not even being able to cover that mortgage. So the other thing that if they do have to go down that route, we can't speed this up to where landlords aren't going to end up with possible mortgage late fees or things like that. Then it wouldn't be bad to consider possibly with the funding to help cover some of that stuff.
And a reminder here, the state is pausing this rent assistance process for 6 weeks to give staff time to catch up on applications. And that pause begins tomorrow night at midnight, 11:59 p.m., I'm told. So if you haven't applied for rent assistance and you need it, apply now. It's this website here at the bottom of your screen, OregonRentalAssistance.org. Again, OregonRentalAssistance.org. We also have more info at KGW.com. And after that segment, you might be thinking to yourself, I need a drink. Not necessarily alcohol, to each their own, we don't judge. But with that graceful pitch, let's pivot to Vice News. We are so cheesy. We apologize. Tonight, though, is a bit of a blend, wine term, between Vice News and sports, because another pro athlete is joining Oregon's wine scene. Retired NFL quarterback and Washington native Drew Bledsoe announced this week he has purchased an 80-acre vineyard in the Willamette Valley, and he wants to produce a state-grown Pinot Noir. Very nice. Why? I mean, why not? But here's the answer he gave.
I guess we'll start with the important part. We probably drink more Oregon Pinot Noir at my house than anything else.
What up? Okay, Drew, say no more. We get it. But for real, the guy sitting next to Bledsoe in that interview is his longtime winemaking partner, Josh McDaniels. And you see, Bledsoe's not new to the wine business. He's just new to Willamette Valley. For years, he's actually specialized in other wines, including Cabernets and other blends, out of his home, the Walla Walla region. His new label, out of Oregon, is expected to launch this fall. He'll, of course, have some healthy competition, we should also note. And frankly, we will use any excuse to show these photos because they're bougie and we love them. Earlier this year, Blazers star CJ McCollum announced he and his wife Elise bought a 318-acre vineyard in the Willamette Valley near Carlton. Same idea. They want to produce their own Pinot Noir as well. And we should note Bledsoe this week was really quick to give CJ props.
So, yeah, I'm excited about CJ. First of all, I'm a huge fan. But second, just to have somebody that's going to be that passionate about what they're doing here in the Northwest is really, really cool.
Like we said, we don't have to talk about alcohol. Tea lovers, that could be a vice too, I think. The Queen says so anyway. I don't know. Whatever. Scottie Pippen is doing tea. That's the headline. That's the headline in this story. The former Trailblazer and Chicago Bulls star is partnering with Portland-based Stephen Smith tea maker and launching, and here's where it comes back to booze, Digits Bourbon Barrel Aged Black Tea. Yowza. It is tea stored in bourbon barrels. Pippen's already into bourbon. So drink up, sports fans. You clearly have a lot of choices. And that does it for tonight's edition of Vice News. All right, still ahead, how many of you are looking for a little staycation for the holidays? Well, if you've ever had the oddly specific goal of sleeping next to a life-sized animatronic velociraptor, what? We have the place for you, I guess, when the story continues. I just found out some coworkers of mine actually haven't seen this movie. I'm not going to say who they are, but they know who they are, and it blew my mind. But you know how in the movie Jurassic Park, everything went super well and everyone was super safe, and in no way was a rogue experiment resurrecting super predators a terrible idea for a vacation, especially with children? Well, now you can take a vacation in Jurassic Park. Here's Catherine Cook.
In the woods of Washougal, shrouded in mystery and mist, is a place where one man's dream is now reality.
Welcome to Jurassic Retreat.
The dream and Airbnb belong to Todd Perkins.
Yeah, that's an Apatosaurus. It's about 56 feet long and about 18 feet tall.
The 5 animatronic dinosaurs that live here are also his.
My son named this one Sarah, so the Triceratops.
For safety reasons, they're all female.
You know they're all
but
female.
You know how the story goes.
That life finds a way.
All right.
Perkins just hopes guests will find their way here.
Like we just opened.
For an experience he hopes they'll never forget.
Kind of like in that original movie, and you see that long neck and you're like, it's a dinosaur, you know, like you have that same feeling. And so that's what I hope, that people have that same feeling and then create those memories with their family.
Perkins lives in Tri-Cities, Washington. He's a business owner and entrepreneur. But clearly,
this was me when I was 5 years old.
He's always loved dinosaurs.
Because it's like my childhood dream coming to fruition.
Perkins closed on this house 4 months ago. Then, with help from family members, hauled all 5 of these girls 3.5 hours down the gorge and into place.
I'm just happy that it's done. I really am.
There is so much attention to detail here. Unfortunately, this rebar is not charged, but everything feels so real, especially the velociraptor. Clever girl.
Some details are so nerdy.
Inside the house, you'll find a nod to the movie in every room, from the professor's quarters to the bathroom.
We have a 75-inch TV where you can watch those movies and then look out the window and actually see dinosaurs while you're watching the movie in real life.
Not bad for a childhood dream.
I've always had ideas.
For the child in all of us. In Washougal, Catherine Cook, KGW News.
I was so afraid throughout that entire piece there was going to be like a goat tied up, and I would just be so scared for the goat. Okay, one final just kind of nod to the movie here. Life finds a way to charge you $350 a night plus cleaning fees, because that is how much it costs to stay at that Airbnb experience right now. That was really cool. Our thanks to Catherine Cook. All right, keep sending in your questions and your comments to the story at kgw.com. We're going to finish the show right after this. I just found out the price of the Jurassic Park Airbnb went up overnight. Like, we checked in on this and it went up $50 to $350. So there you go. It's in high demand. Pick up your phone and follow us on Twitter at @TheStoryKGW or email thestory@kgw.com. That's the end of this show. Let's bring in Laurel Porter for the news at 6:30. Hey, Laurel.
Hi, Maggie. It has been a deadly year on Portland's roads, and now police have a warning for drivers and pedestrians. The news at 6:30 starts now.